the place for any startup founder to ask burning questions that are keeping you up at night and learn from our guest founders and startup support experts. And of course, LeapSheep's own startup building experts who have worked with hundreds of startup founders and their teams around the world. Welcome, I'm your host today, Kirk Drage. I'm the CEO and co-founder of LeapSheep. At LeapSheep, we're on a mission to flip the 95% startup failure rate by making expert and professionalized startup building guidance accessible, affordable to all founders anywhere. Welcome to Founders. If you've joined live, it's great to have you here. This show is all about supporting you to get from idea to build business model hypotheses that are actually worth pursuing, and then validate that you can get them to product market fit before scaling up safely and avoid that 95% failure rate. Thank you to founders that have sent questions in, and please drop any questions that you have in the live stream, either on YouTube or LinkedIn, or however you're tuning in. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to have Adam Weiss with us. Adam is a pioneer in the software and app promotion, training, and communication space. He is the founder of App Demo Videos, one of the first and most prominent app software-specific video agencies. App Demo Videos specializes in crafting captivating marketing and tutorial videos that bring mobile apps and websites to life, and has created engaging marketing and tutorial content for top global companies like Microsoft, Netflix, AT&T, Oracle, HP, and SAP, and of course, hundreds of startups. With operations in both the US and Australia, they serve clients worldwide, from startups to Fortune 500s. Their bespoke video productions have helped startups raise millions, offering end-to-end support from script writing to delivery. Adam, it's so great to have you here. Welcome.
It's great to be here, Kirk.
So let's start off with some easy questions for you, because I love the audience to sort of get to know a little bit of background about how do you fall into a business like this? I think this is from being in the startup space for nearly 2 decades now. I realize, and I think I continue to realize, just how important storytelling is. If you want to do anything in the startup world, storytelling is at the center of it. How did you fall into this space? Because it's not something that I think we talk to kids about in career class at school, is it?
No, definitely. And I literally did fall into this. It was entirely an accident. Basically, going back about 20 years, I was getting into podcasting when podcasting was a very, very new thing, before podcasting was even a section available on the iPod. And I was working at a large not-for-profit organization in the US and doing audio podcasts, and then kind of got asked to be a consultant for a number of other organizations, because there weren't very many places or people doing this well, and they knew that my organization was doing it well. So I started consulting in audio podcasting for a number of different clients, and people asking, do you do video? And I didn't know at that point. So you know to people a certain number of times before you figure out how to say yes. So I took a 1 week, 40-hour crash course at a local university to learn video, and then started saying yes to video for video podcasts and online communication in that sense. And then as the
What year was this?
global financial crisis, this was 2007 or 8. I think it was 2008 when I really got started doing this. Basically, I was following an app developer who was developing an app. And back when you followed people's blogs instead of followed them on other social media, but I was reading his blog, and he said, I need someone to make a video. Can anyone help me make a video? I'll give you $2. Okay, so I was doing this for $2 plus cost of materials. Financial crisis as a consultant wasn't great in the US. I didn't have a lot to do that few. Sure, I'll see what it's like to make an app demo video, and video together, sent it to him. And what happened next was kind of a surprise, because I sent it to him to give some feedback. He wrote back saying, this is amazing. And then I started getting Google alerts that this video was showing up on Legit and 9 to 5 and Gizmodo and all the tech company, tech news websites, because he'd put it out right away in a press release. He put it out at, 11 release, and it was showing up on these websites. I didn't have a website for this business. I didn't have anything to talk about this. It was just like doing a favor for somebody that I'd been talking to online. So I stayed up until 3 o'clock that morning building a very basic website. Back in the 2000s, the Mo Videos was a pretty straightforward, .com domain name. So I bought the domain name and started
necessity being the mother of invention.
Basically, and then started at with that success, started writing to some other app developers that I was. This video on the front page of Engadget last week, I made that. So would you like one? And bad enough, of course. And not that we charge a ton, it was charging almost nothing, and built up a decent portfolio of apps that we'd work with. And coming up, it's basically that was 18 years ago at this point, almost, and have been doing it one way or another ever since.
That's such a great origin story. I love it. And so, were you passionate? I mean, you said that you did an online course. Had you done any kind of this storytelling before?
Well,
or you
I think that
just sort of
yeah, I think that it was really the podcast-based storytelling that I'd been doing for years. I'd been working to tell very complex stories. I was working at a science education organization, one of the biggest science museums in the United States, and we were trying to talk to technology and science innovators about how their ideas came to be, what it was that they were doing. A lot of tech people are the same way, a little bit of a different area. We were talking to people from MIT who were working in nanotechnology and space science, and so there was a lot of tech in that sense. To the app and software development tech space, there's a lot of innovation there too. So it was really telling the same kinds of stories. It was just telling them for a different audience and about a little bit of a different kind of organization. But we definitely, I think that the company was built on that, explaining complex topics in a way that everyday people can understand, and that's exactly what explaining software tech requires. Because when you're talking to, whether it's an investor or a potential end user, whether it's B2B or B2C, then they need to just get the why of this and a little bit of the how, and understand what it is that is the value in this quickly. And same thing when you're trying to explain neutrino physics to everyday people. They need to say, why do I care about this? It's a lot easier to say why you care about a new app than it is why you care about neutrino physics.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a good background story you've got there. And the problem is perennial. Whether we've gone from thinking 40 or 50 years ago we had like projectors with transparencies that we were projecting on a wall, and we've now got all this technology with tools like PowerPoint and Keynote, and we've got video, and we've got animation tools, and we've got Figma, and the technology has just improved, and the ability to create support artifacts for communicating is just gone through the roof. But the very, very fundamentals of storytelling really hasn't changed, has it? And the fact that what you're alluding to there is that different disciplines like engineering, for example, or science, really get good at doing what they do, which is engineering or science. And that doesn't necessarily include the storytelling aspect of why should they do the engineering or the science in the first place. If someone gives them a job and says, hey, I want you to build me this thing or investigate this bit of knowledge, then they're all up for that, and that's easy to act on. But if they're the ones with the idea and want to find the resources to help them, then that's where the storytelling comes in, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really think that that aspect of trying to help the people who are real experts in their field talk to other people who aren't experts is really key, because it's a combination. Some people don't have the personality or the communication skills. A lot of people who become tech founders don't do it because they're really good people. They're not great in front of an audience. They're not somebody. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But that's one aspect of it. But the other thing is, you've been in this. You've probably been in this, so deep in this for months, years, maybe 10 years working on something. You understand it so well that jumping back to explain it to someone who's never seen it before is really hard. So one of the things that we always really try to do is take a look at this with a fresh set of eyes, whatever the tool is. We don't say, there are so many video production companies out there. You can go on Fiverr, you can go on Upwork, you can get somebody to make you a video if you tell them what to make, but you don't know what to make in most cases. The big thing that we do is we take a look at this with fresh eyes and say, these are the pieces of this tool that we think are the most compelling. These are the things that are really going to make someone go, oh, wow, I need to try this. And we start with those. You may not know what those are. There's one founder that we worked with for years who made an amazing app that got attention all over the world. And he didn't even know that something that he had kind of accidentally coded into it wasn't really a glitch. It was just something that he did as a workaround. we saw this and we said, why
Yeah.
aren't you talking about this feature? He said, I don't think that's a feature. That was just a workaround to get something to work. But it was one of the first stylus-based note-taking apps for an iPad that worked well, that had handwriting recognition and shape recognition and all these other things. And it had this tool that
Right.
allowed you to zoom in and write very small text in an expanded way. And he basically did this to get around a problem.
Right.
But that was something he should have been talking about as a feature. And when we said this is a feature, he said, that's a feature? And ultimately, we made a whole video about just that feature, and it got a lot of attention. So it was something that he didn't even realize that was of value, because he coded it to get around a problem that he'd been working on for a few months, and it was just a solution to him.
Yeah. I mean, we see this so often in startups where there's a lot of roles within a company that are actually in conflict. And what I mean by that, it's really hard for the same person to do those two roles. Like, for example, it's hard to be an accountant and an auditor, or a software developer and software tester. That you actually need different people to do those roles. And when you're building the technology, you've got such, as you say, you've got such depth and understanding. You've forgotten what it's like to be a beginner. And now you're trying to communicate to beginners that are maybe just starting their journey, solving the problem that you've been working on for, maybe decades. And so in some senses, that's a conflict of trying to have that in the same person. You can't be also an expert and a beginner. So it's a really good reason why a fresh set of eyes can be really, really helpful.
Definitely. And it reminds me of, I mean, in a sense, going back to the beginnings of my career, when I was talking about how science can be explained. Someone, if you have taken science courses at university, there are professors that are very good teachers, and there are professors that are very good scientists, and sometimes there's not an overlap between the two. A lot of them.
Yeah.
I remember one professor I had. I studied physics at uni, and one professor I had for an electronics had been doing this stuff. He was about 5 years old. His parents were both engineers and he was building electronics in his basement, basically as he was learning to speak properly. And he just couldn't understand why the students couldn't understand this. He said, I was doing this when I was 6. Why can't you get this? And that's not the attitude to have when you're talking to a classroom full of university students. So some people who are building,
or you want to sell,
or when you're trying to sell, and so some people, when they're building their tools, have that same depth of knowledge, not necessarily that same attitude. His attitude was not the right attitude, but he had such a depth of knowledge that it was not possible for him to conceive that someone didn't understand this particular aspect of electronics. And you can get that deep in software development, and having a fresh set of eyes of people who really know how to communicate this is often valuable.
Yeah, 100%. Because I just wanted to put something in context, and one of the reasons why I'm so excited to have you on today and talk about this particular topic is because one of the biggest problems with building startups globally, all around the world, is, and this has been shown through research, and we've experienced this through hundreds of companies that we've worked with, is that startups tend to overinvest and begin to scale too quickly. At the end of the day, there's a lot of pressure. Founders put pressure on themselves to do things fast. Investors want them to do things faster. If you've got any support from government, or if you've got customers, they want you to do things faster. So it's really understandable why this happens. But one of the big things is helping founders slow down and take things at a more gradual pace and focus more on capital efficiency than speed. And so I'm just going to share this diagram really quickly. This is what we call the disruptive innovation journey, and it's LeapSheep's 10-step process to get founders safely to product market fit. Without going into too much detail here, I just wanted to highlight the 4 sort of stages. The first stage we call pre-revenue market validation, and this is doing everything you can to get the market, your potential customers, bought into your idea and validate that there's really a business model to be built here before you have product and customers that you have to serve and have to engineer, production quality outcomes, which is obviously more expensive. The second stage is then initial pilots, which the Y Combinator guys like to call this stage doing things manually that don't scale, and really prove that you really understand what the customers want, not because you've listened to them, but because you've watched them behaviorally, because what people say they want and what they actually want are quite often different. The third stage is then pursuing product market fit. We call that product market fit validation. And the fourth stage is then scaling up. And in this first stage, in this pre-revenue market validation stage, The third step in that stage, we call that concept validation. And sometimes we call this the crowdsourcing stage, the crowdfunding stage, because this is essentially what crowd funders do, is they communicate a concept of their solution and look to bring forward the resources to build that before they've actually built it. And while not every company is appropriate for crowdfunding, I think every company is appropriate to use the crowdfunding techniques, which is communicating the concepts before they start building things. That's useful, as you say, for investors, and it's useful for customers. And I think this should be standard best practice when it comes to startups globally. For some reason, it's not. We don't talk about it enough. But that just puts in context, I think, why I'm so excited to talk to you today and all the experience that you've got, because you're kind of, I look at you and go, you're an expert at stage C. You've done this hundreds and hundreds of times with many different companies. I think the more we can sort of dig into this step, the more value our founders that are watching today are going to get out of this session. So I just wanted to put that in context and sort of lead into the question of, if you're going to take this approach of doing these solution concepts, what are some of the do's and don'ts when doing these things? And is video the right way? Is video the only way? Can you just give us the sort of big picture on this approach?
Yes, but why don't you leave that question on the screen for a minute, because there's something that you said in the lead up to this that I want to address, because I think that it's something that we've run into with a number of different clients that is really important. When you're talking about developing the concept, fleshing it out to the point that people can give you feedback on it, and then going to build the product based on that feedback. That's something that, as you said, too many people skip that step. We've had a lot of clients or potential clients come to us say, we aren't ready to make the video yet because the product isn't finished, because we need to get to version 1.5, because we need to get to version 2.0. And sometimes that's, if it's a relatively simple, straightforward problem-solving app that is just, another slight improvement on a calendar app or something like that, not something new and groundbreaking, then maybe there's some value in that. But I spend a lot of time talking to people, and sometimes I have to say, no, don't keep building the product until you can see whether the product is right for people. If you're building this for an investor pitch, don't wait until you've fully fleshed out the entire working product before you come to us and ask us to make a video of it. Because in that video stage, in that kind of conceptual demo stage, you can make a lot more changes more easily. If you're still back at that Figma wireframe that is semi-interactive, you can make changes very quickly. You can give your investor pitch to 8 different groups of investors and take that feedback, and then when you do the 9th one, you can much more easily update the product, so to speak. The product is just your Figma. Much more easily than you could if you've fully developed the whole stack of something and have to go back to stage 1.
Yeah, this is, at the end of the day, this is all about doing things quicker.
Yeah,
because as you say, it's quicker to do this than build full production software. It's cheaper, so you're going to save more capital and have more capital used for other things, which means you're going to be more successful. And it actually reduces risk because you get feedback sooner than you would have otherwise if you had to wait. So quicker, cheaper, and safer.
Yes.
I think they're 3 really important reasons why every startup should have a really good excuse if you're not going down this path.
Yeah. So back to your question about the biggest do's and don'ts with using a live video in a demo or investment pitch. I think that the biggest thing is use a video instead of a live demo if you at all can. If you are expected to give a live demo, do everything you can not to give that live demo. Make a video version of the live demo that looks and works like a live demo. But even famously, Steve Jobs had an iMac stop working on him in the middle of a demo, and he very nearly threw it across the stage. They had a second one they'd had someone in the background mirroring every step, and they could just flip the KVM switch over to the other one, and he could continue going. You probably don't have that luxury when you're standing in a small room with investors. So I think that if you can avoid having a live demo, then that's really, really valuable. And what we do to help people with that, and you can do this yourself if you have the skills, is we actually will create small video clips of the entire process of using the app, especially if it's not a mobile app or an app that has like human interaction visible with hands. If you're if it's a web app, if it's a desktop app, you can do this yourself. Just record all of the pieces of the flow that you'd like to use in your live demo and cut it up into segments, and then put them in your PowerPoint presentation as consecutive slides. And then when you're going to do your live demo, you can step through those consecutive slides and talk about each one as long as you'd like. You can talk about the features on this page, and then you can say, and now we're going to click into the settings. Click your PowerPoint pointer, and the mouse moves over and clicks the settings button, and then you can talk about what's in the settings or whatever it is you'd like to highlight. Probably not settings in an investor pitch, but that's just what came to mind live. But if you can create what looks like a live demo, but is going to work right every single time, you don't have to worry about internet connectivity issues. You don't have to worry about back-end server failures. You don't have to worry about just some overflow and your app crashing in the middle of a demo, because your app probably isn't ready for prime time yet. That's the point of trying to get investment, right? So make something that looks like your app is ready for prime time and works like your app is ready for prime time and is low stress. So one of the things that we really, really tell people is, if you're going to be doing a live pitch on a screen with a demo, if you're going to mirror your screen in one way or another, put a video there if you can, but a video that's interactive, in the sense that a video that you can control and step through the steps. Investors are not there to watch a 95-second video about your app in the middle of your pitch. They're not there to hear someone else talk about it. They're here to hear you. So they want you to talk them through the product as if it's a live demo. But if you can do it in a way that's smooth and safe, then that's less stressful for you and a lot more engaging and confidence boosting for them.
And what do you say to founders that say, I feel like I'm cheating, or I feel like I'm a fraud, or I feel like, if I can't do the thing live, I'm not really a founder?
I think that you don't have to say that it's a live demo. You can say, look, I'm going to step you through the important pieces of our system right here, and you don't have to tell them we're going to do a live demo now. You can just say we're going to step through these. You're telling the truth there. And if they ask, was that live or was that a recording, you can say, we recorded all the segments in the actual app, but we wanted to make sure that it was seamless. I think that investors will think that you're well prepared if you do that. If you show up saying, I can show you how this will work, and I am prepared to not only make sure that the app was working well enough last week when I made this pitch deck that I could put last night at 2:00 in the morning, do the live demo, but also the presence of mind to pre-record everything so that it is there and perfect. I think investors will see that as a plus. I don't think it's a fraud. How many professional musicians lip sync on stage because they are doing a show 18 this week and they might lose their voice? It's not that level of deception, but that's a very, very common thing in professional music. So if you're trying to talk to investors, I think having a canned version of your app is something that they would not look upon poorly at all, as long as you are able to. You can say, I'm going to step through these steps, and if you want to see the actual product, I'm happy to show it to you, but this is going to be the more efficient and smoother way to show it to you. And just saying that, just like if you offer something, then people say, okay, they can do that, and they probably won't ask. And if they do ask, then you better have an app that works. But I think that if you're trying to show somebody what it will feel like, do it in the best possible light, and I think that they'll look upon that positively.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you nailed it there when you said that. It's all about using the time that you've got effectively with the investor or the customer or whoever you're talking to, and be upfront to say, look, I've pre-recorded, I've got a walkthrough of the app, so that there's no issues or glitches, and we can focus on the communication. And if you want to see the thing live, because this is interesting and impressive enough, then really happy to pull up the live version of the app and we can walk through that if you've got the time. And so you're actually doing everybody a favor. But the thing is, for founders, that I find is there is a class of founders that they really do feel like they should be demoing their live software, otherwise they're not real. And I'd say to those founders that to change your belief system about that, because it's all about the amount of time that you've got and using that time effectively. It's not about your credibility as an engineer or your ability to create quality software. As you said, Adam, part of the reason that you're there, if you're talking to investors, is to get more resources to make better quality software, because it's not a reflection of your ability if you haven't had the resources to be actually able to carry through on your abilities. So I think that's
talking about
really,
resources
really
and sorry, but even talking about resources and talking about professionalism, we've been videos. I can say this because it's not something that's under an NDA, but we created a canned walkthrough video for Oracle that was going through all of the steps of a big product that they were doing a regular live demo online, and they still represented it as a live demo. They then had one sales engineer answer questions at the end, but that's very, very common, even in high-end enterprise software. So for Oracle, it's probably good enough for you with your startup.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So let's maybe switch gears and talk about the cost and skills needed to do this. And if you're a small startup just getting started and you've still got limited budgets, as most startups do, what should your thinking be? What's the sort of approach? What can you do? What should you avoid? Where do you need to seek professional help? What's your advice and guidance on that front?
I think that it really depends on what stage you are in that chart that you put up. If you are at a very early stage, then I think that creating something that really focuses on explaining the why of your product, and that could be something that, stock footage is a great tool. For example, you can get a lot of stock video clips for very inexpensive prices. You can even get subscriptions that you can sign up to for a month or a month and a half and get unlimited stock video clips for, say $50 when you're done with it. And then as long as you're using those clips only in that video, just beware of licensing for one thing. And this is something that I always talk to guys. Don't just pull videos from YouTube. Don't pull videos from places that you aren't legally licensing them from. But there are some tricks you can do where you can, in a sense, license all the videos that you need for a particular product and project. And if you can complete that project while you still have the subscription, you can then use that video as long as you'd like, as long as you're not modifying it. So there are some ways to get things like stock footage clips, which can really tell a story. We've done that for some big clients. We had one client that we actually needed to tell the story for a big enterprise level software product of a CFO who was having trouble dealing with a particular problem. And we found 6 or 7 video clips on one of these stock video sites of the same guy in the same office wearing the same suit, having different reactions, doing different things on his computer. And instead of hiring an actor to play the CFO, we were able to build a CFO for a few $100s in a sense in stock footage and put that together. So I think that you can stories. Another app that we made videos for that I think is a good demonstration of this is an app that was designed to allow people to give tips to, say, street performers or baristas, or obviously tipping's really big in the US, and it was a US app, and a way to give people tips when you didn't have cash. And there were so many pieces of stock footage that we could get of various hospitality jobs, of people doing all sorts of work that would normally be tipped. And instead of having to hire 30 actors to just get little clips of them playing guitar on the side of the street, we spent $200 or something like that on stock footage clips. So you can certainly set the scene and tell stories with video really impactfully if you kind of let other people who are better at video than you do the work of telling that story. The actual scripting, that's, I would say, where you want to spend the most time and put the most resources if you're going to build something with stock footage and maybe some little recordings of your app. You need to make sure that that what is being said in the video by the voiceover artist and having it sound good with a professional voiceover artist is probably the highest value thing that you can do in terms of doing low budget video production. Make sure that the music sounds good, license the music from somewhere, make sure the music sounds good, make sure the voiceover is professional and really well put together. So maybe talk to a professional writer, talk to someone who isn't just a technical writer, but someone who knows how to do storytelling with writing. And then see what you can piece together from nice looking clips you can find online, properly licensed, from stock footage, and then some pieces of your app. There are some really powerful videos that we've made to tell stories of apps that don't even exist yet, that were basically built using stock footage and using mock-ups of the app that we then animated to look good. And that is something that if you have the technical expertise and you understand something about video editing, you can do. If you don't, then probably don't try it. I mean, I think that you'll spend far more time learning how to use the tools, even to a mediocre level, than it's worth to just hire an outside company to do it. There are places that you can, if you really have a very clear vision of what you're trying to do, you can go to someone cheap. They might do a good job. You could go to a company like ours. There are a number of companies kind of at our tier that are not, we don't charge $10,000 for video. We're not a very expensive video company. We can produce videos at startup friendly cost, and come to, so you can come to us, you can come to some of our competitors. There are places out there that'll do this for, in the few thousands of dollars for a simple video, and then, not a lot more for a package of a couple of videos that go together. and that's probably worth it, because if you're going to a month of your potential development time working to try to learn new software and build something, or something a few $1,000s, you're much better off for your startup to just out to somebody that knows what they're doing. If you're further along in the process, if you do have a working app, the things that you can do are some of the more impactful videos that are not at the top of the sales funnel. They're not the thing that's going to be the first thing that can draw you in. That's where you probably want a professional, or you want to find a really compelling piece of stock footage that's maybe just 10 or 15 seconds long, that'll really grab LinkedIn or grab somebody on Facebook and drive the website. But if you want landing page video, if you want something that's tell the story of your app in a minute, that's again probably something that professionally you want to go a step deeper than that. Do some tutorial videos, walk through the depth of the app. That's something you can probably do on your own using a system. There are plenty of like Loom or something like that. You can record things on your own. Or you can use better software like Camtasia or ScreenFlow or something like that to record it on a computer. But you can create some of those videos. And the other thing is, if you have a mobile app, the app preview video in the App Store is something you can probably manage to create on your own as well. And that's really compelling. We can talk about that if you want.
Yeah. So one of the topics you saw wandering in is a question that I had for you, which is at what stages of the marketing and sales funnel? So as you say, there's sort of top of the funnel things to attract people and get people's attention. There's the middle of the funnel things, which is nurturing, building trust and credibility, educating the customer, building their lead temperature so they become a more sophisticated opportunity. And then there's, potentially closing bottom of the funnel where you're trying to help facilitate a sale and get people over the line. So can you talk about where you might use some of these tools at different stages and how to think about those different stages?
Yes, certainly. So the top of the sales funnel is really when people are first encountering you cold. And that might be in it's usually in an ad, or it's in, say, a press release based news article or something like that. So I think that's where really short, impactful videos, that the only point of that video is to get someone to click something. If you're putting out ads on...
And when you say short,
I think short means somewhere between 5 and 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds. So very, very short. Because if you think about when you're scrolling through a Facebook feed or on LinkedIn or on any social media, swiping through Instagram, you're coming up to a video. You really have a few seconds to decide whether you're going to want to watch this. You think about when you go to YouTube for longer videos. If you're going to YouTube for a tutorial, if you're trying to learn about how to, I just built a retaining wall in my back garden. If I'm trying to learn how to build a retaining wall, I'll watch a 10-minute video about that, right? But if you're trying to learn, just whether this product is a good fit for you, you're not going to watch a 10-minute video. Think about your attitude when you look and see the little number in the corner of the video. If it says 4 minutes introduction to something, you don't want to give it that time. If it says less than 1 minute in a minute, yeah, you'll give it that time if you've already invested enough. If you've moved from the top of the sales funnel of that first, this is cool, let me click this. Then someone has the time to give you somewhere between 40. Again, a professional video that talks about the why, talks about value, really gives a feel for what this would like to use, but doesn't go too far in depth. That's where you have that kind of, it's a 90-second video. The one thing clients don't think of is the training and tutorial and walkthrough videos that are just as good for existing customers and people that are trying to learn. Those are often valuable sales tools as well, because if you have a fairly complex product, we made a whole bunch of videos for a robot vacuum cleaner company, one of the big ones, and they made these videos to help people to replace the instruction manual that came in the box with the robot. But people were going and watching them before they bought the robot, because they wanted to see how hard is it to clean the brushes, how complicated is it to empty the bin, and all these things. So those videos, if done well, someone gets deep enough into your product, really be exploring it and trying to understand what would it be like to use every day, then they'll probably read they'll read the tutorial content. They'll try to read the instructions, and people prefer to watch videos over reading. Statistics show that if you show and text on the same page, more than 3/4 of people ignore the text and just watch the video. So you need to have that as well, and that can be part of the sales funnel. So that's the more engaged aspect of it. I think that professional video is very well at the top of the sales funnel, with the exception potentially of that preview videos in the App Store. That's that first, if you have a mobile app, you have your screenshots and you can put a video in there. If those videos, especially for iPhone, the restrictions on what kind of video you're allowed to put in there that Apple sets means that you can probably make something that's good enough to at least get started on your own, because you're not allowed to do fancy animations. You're not allowed to have stock footage in it. You're not allowed to do a lot of things. It really has to be what the app feels like and looks like to use. So you could probably get away at the very beginning with having a self-made one of those. But otherwise, top of the sales funnel, definitely talk to someone who understands marketing to do that. You can maybe implement it yourself with some stock footage. Then as you get deeper into the sales funnel, probably the first serious interaction that you would have with a customer, that landing page video would be that homepage video, would be something that's in that 45 to 90-second range. That's, again, something you probably want professionals to do. But then when people explore beyond that, you can also take on probably doing the training video, tutorial videos, walkthroughs of specific products, but do it very succinctly. We can talk about that if you'd like, but don't just ramble on for 10 minutes. Nobody wants to watch that. Plan it very, very well and go step by step through the product efficiently. But it's something that if you're effectively doing a screen recording and someone just clicking through, if you practice that, you can produce that on your own.
Yeah, that's great. There's so many directions I want to take this conversation. A couple of things that come to mind, I think, for founders that we talk about is, in what order should you work on those videos? We have pretty strong opinions on that. I don't know if you've got an opinion on if you've got an early stage company, where would you recommend they start in that sales funnel?
If it's very early stage and you don't have a fully working product yet, then I think that the investor picks are going to be the most important, whether they're actual investment or not, because it's the same audience in a sense. The people who are going to be giving you money are the people who are going to be getting excited about your app for when it becomes available. You're telling very similar stories. You would have not exactly the same video. We often will make two videos that are very related. One that is for just drumming up customer excitement when a product is brand new, and one is an investor pitch version of that. That's a few different sections to talk about the more investor focused statistics and have a different question at the end, but it can be much the same story. So if you're at that very early stage and you have a fully fleshed out product, then I think that those are very, very important videos. Can be similar, not exactly the same. If you have if you're a little bit further along and you have a working product that you're trying to sell and get in front of people, to the point, even if it's a free product, if you're trying to get it out there to people to validate with real tests using the real app, then I think focusing on that kind of very top of the sales funnel, getting somebody interested and excited, which can literally be some interesting stock footage clips, just some compelling piece of the app showing a page video, I think is very valuable for that, because people want our philosophy has always been that people do want to see what a new tool feels like to use before they actually use it. They don't want to just get sold on the concept with only stock footage. They don't want to have only an animated video with a little cartoon character saying how great this is, because unless you're doing something totally new, to go back to my example, if somebody's getting a new calendar app, see how it works compared to their current solution, to even consider whether or not that's something that they. You don't need to sell them on the concept of a calendar app. You need to sell them on why yours is better than the other, so they see how it works. So in that case, you want to do a professional job of showing it in use, but showing it just in use from a step by step. And here's how you change the settings, and here's how you do this. But no, here's how it solves a problem. Like, let's say if your big differentiator allows you to enter meetings more quickly and efficiently when you're setting them up, then you can tell the story of someone trying to, talking on the phone on the tram and trying to enter the information in their phone at the same time, and they have to get off in one stop, and how to get this information down before it's time to get off, and then they've lost it all in their head. So you can still show what the app feels like for that. You can set the scene with stock footage or do something like that to help understand the value of that differentiator that you have.
Yeah, totally. So it's that landing page video that we typically recommend is the right place for many startups to start, and the reason, because that top of the funnel attention grabbing kind of video you're likely to do manually by meeting people and having referrals, and so you're not looking to have automated self-service approaches to attract new people to talk to, and from a capital efficiency point of view, that's generally not a great use of your time and capital, is to try and use that strategy to get access to people, either investors or early customers. You're better off to do that through sort of high touch, relationship driven approaches, which is sort of countercultural to a lot of the startup advice that you hear. But it is the most capital efficient way for the vast majority of founders. So it is that landing page video. And I just want to talk about that landing page video for a moment, because you've been talking about characters. And one of the things that we haven't sort of talked about is, what are we actually demonstrating? We're just demonstrating the app, or are we demonstrating more than that? And I think, we had a conversation before we jumped on air, and that is the whole point of a product or a solution is to help the customer achieve their outcome. And so it's really important to set the story up, make the customer the hero of the story, be able to empathize with their situation, with what it is that they're trying to achieve, their goals, the frustrations that they might have with trying to achieve those goals with the current solutions they have at their disposal. And then you can talk about how your product can solve that problem and make the customer the hero of the story. And I like the metaphor of your product's more like the magic sword that's going to help them slay the dragon and get the outcome. You don't want to just make a video about how amazing the magic sword is. You have to put the magic sword in context of the customer getting their outcome. So can you talk about that for just a moment? Because I know we work with a class of founder that's built apps or has a vision for an app, and they just want to do a walkthrough of an app. And I think that almost invariably misses the mark for what they're looking for in most instances.
For that landing page video, I totally agree. And I also agree that the top of the sales funnel videos aren't things to focus on until you're in that scale up stage. If you're in the more development oriented stage, then certainly the landing page video is, you're going to meet people and you're going to say, go check the website, whether it's through going to a conference or talking to people one-on-one. So I definitely agree with that. But to answer your question about what that landing page video should be, I think that an example we made a video not that long ago for a facilities management app in Melbourne. And that was a kind of a management is a fairly complex, annoying thing to deal with if you're trying to do it the old-fashioned way. This was a commercial facilities management app that was somebody broke a light in building 12 over there. One of the taps is dripping. Whatever it is, things that are annoying things that you're getting phone calls or you're getting either manual tickets, emails coming in. This was an app that tried to streamline, talk about those pain points very easily using stock footage. We talked about, I think it was a light that wasn't working and a dripping tap and a couple of other things, as these are the kind of things. And if there was one dashboard that you actually then very easily assign the right person to fix the problem, have them go, have it solved, have it checked off, and then in the system immediately. And we told that story a few different ways, a few different problems, and it stepped through the app. It really stepped through how you would solve these problems, but it solved a problem that we presented beforehand. It's not just, here's how you would open a ticket, and then so here's how it's really like, we're setting the scenario of there's a light flickering above someone's desk and it's driving them nuts and they want it fixed right now, and you're going to make their life better by fixing the light more quickly, and it's going to be less expensive and faster than your other processes because you're using this app. So I think that people do want to see that walkthrough in a sense of the app, but they only want to see the walkthrough of the points that are relevant to their particular problem. So I think if you can set up a story and then use your app to solve that problem in the story, that's a really effective way to do that. Because I do think that the app walkthrough aspects are really valuable, but they need to be in context to not just be something someone will zone out and not pay attention to. I have lost your sound. Can you still hear me?
Sorry, there we go. Am I back?
There we go. Okay, go ahead. I can all that again since my answer. I couldn't quite hear.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say with just approaching the last part of the show, I really wanted to ask about the technology that's changing in this space rapidly. There are so many tools. AI has now burst onto the scene with tools to help you with storytelling, tools to help you with animation, video production. All parts of the process that you're talking about are really being heavily impacted by AI. Can you talk about, what do you see as the future? What's the now? What should people be thinking about in this space when it comes to tools and technology to help support the processes that you're engaged in?
I think that AI is certainly going to have an impact on certain aspects of this in the short term, and obviously, as AI evolves, we're not really sure what it be able to or not be able to do. So that's it could have impacts on all of it in the medium or longer term. But I think at the moment, it's really good for brainstorming. It's really good, an expert in a sense, if you set the right prompt to bounce ideas off of, to try to come up with some of these scenarios that go into a video, that help you just discover pain points, talk to someone in a particular persona about something. For the actual production, though, if you're talking about, kind of like, I'm going to prompt and it's going to do something for me, AI type systems, they're not there yet in terms of being able to do this for you. They're not going to create a video. They're not going to create a stock footage video. They may help you in that, several years away from them being able to be even minimally effective at that. With the speed of AI development, several years ago was a danger. But I think that there are definitely the impact that AI is having on apps, though, and on the whole app landscape, and the more AI being built into apps is going to have to be dealing with competition from either AI generated apps that spamming the app stores full of things that are kind of close copies of other apps that don't necessarily work terribly. I mean, how many, take a picture of this kind of apps are there these days that are effectively just sending it off to some AI to send it, and you can, there are ones that you can get for free and ones you can pay $10 for, and ones you can pay $3 a week for, and they're all effectively using the same AI. So I think that differentiation is going to become harder with a lot of tools out there, because more and more people are going to be thinking, I can make an app. I think that on the side, like, it's harder to make a video using AI these days than it is to make an app using AI. It's at least at the very, very minimal viable product level, where someone's just saying, oh, what kind of junk can I stick in the app store? I'll just ask ChatGPT to write it. That's doable. It's harder to do with a video to talk about that app. So I think that you are putting in the real work as an actual human being to do an app well, then video can really help you differentiate from some of those less full generated. I think that other trends that are coming up outside of AI are really the kind of somewhat fraction of apps or platforms and things that, especially if we're talking about mobile apps, that's coming up, because different EU that allow you to have, independent on the iPhone that have been on Android for a while, but really aren't that popular, and now they're going to start getting more popular. I think that having to market your apps, if it's talking about mobile, in more and more places is going to be an issue. Not just having one monolithic Google Play Store and one monolithic Apple App Store. There are app stores with different focuses, different reasons that people might be them. And I think that with more AI and more concern about the privacy focused aspects, I do think that some of the things that people are concerned about in a few years might be what's being done with my data. So if you can talk about your app is and isn't doing in a useful way, your stuff, like any meta apps try to get as much information out of you as possible. If your differentiator is that you're not doing solving a problem, then highlighting some of those things, I think, is valuable. So I think there are a lot of trends that are coming, but I think that to ultimately about AI, use it to help you develop your app marketing strategy, but not do it for you, basically.
Yeah, that's good advice. I think a couple of the lenses that I look through in this question is, you've got some AI that's getting very good at very, very specific steps. But if you don't know how to put those steps in context of an overall process to get you an outcome of creating a high quality video, then that's likely to send you in a bit of a doom loop of creating lots of content that's actually not valuable and getting you to the outcome.
Totally. There are a lot of tools
that
we use regularly.
Because it's easy.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's really easy to sort of fool yourself into thinking that you're being productive by creating a lot of cool stuff using some of these tools, where you're really not getting any closer to the outcome of creating a high quality narrative that customers love.
Yes, there are a lot of AI tools that are very specific we use in our video production, but they're to solve specific problems that we've known about for this. It is very easy to get excited. Oh, there's an AI tool to do this. Oh, I'll process this audio. I can make this visual look more colorful. I can do the other thing. They're not the most important aspects of the storytelling. So yeah, I think that unless
really
you know
important.
why you're using it, they can be a little bit of a rabbit hole.
Yeah, 100%. And the other thing I would say is that getting this right, like the storytelling, the narrative that we're talking about, getting that right, like any other part of your startup, you're unlikely to be successful at that at your first attempt, for many reasons. One is you probably don't know your customer as well as you think you know them. If you're an early stage startup, you don't know their problems as well as you think you know. You don't know what the solutions are. And so iteration is something that we're constantly talking to founders. Build it into your plan that you're going to have to do this thing over and over again. And I think this is another role that AI and some of these tools have, is it allows you to get a result out quicker. May not be as sort of polished as you would ideally like, but it's the same as building production quality software. You want to get to production quality software over time through a series of iterations. Now, as an agency, you may have a process where you've got iterations that you work with. We would say to clients, that's great to be able to work with an agency that has that iterative process, but as a startup, you should also consider that project with an agency one iteration of many, possibly. Have you got anything to share about that sort of iterative approach, particularly with startups, maybe less so with the larger clients that you've worked with that are in more mature markets and so forth, but with startups that are still trying to find their way, have you got anything to say on that iterative nature of things?
I think it's really essential. And I think that if you're talking to a video production company, any kind of marketing company that's going to be working as a startup, they need to understand the iterative process that is inherent in startup world. It's something that is essential. The entire production process around the idea that there will be a version 1.1, there'll be a version 5.1, there'll be iterative changes to this app, so that you're not having to come back to us and say, we're going to start from scratch and do this entire video over again for the full price. We make sure to build into our entire process the fact that you can come back and say, we added a feature for a much lower cost of the video, or we reskinned the app because we thought that by look and color scheme was really more same functionality underneath. We've done that a number of times, where for then less than half the cost of the original video, we remake the entire video effectively, but it's the same voiceover, the same stock footage, the same storyline app, and we can actually effectively remove, if it's a mobile app, we can remove the app visuals and put in new ones and time it all again. We can do that with desktop apps as well. So if you have a production company that under the iterative process of marketing company, if you're talking about any other aspect of app promotion, if they understand that iterative process and know inherent in software development is, you're done. This isn't we've made this app and then we're going to be using the same video for years. People think, oh, it'd be great if I could use this. Tell them, no, it would not be great. It means that your app has not 3 years to need a new video. So we try to build that into our process. Companies that do that as well, but you need to make sure that people understand that. So it's not someone just saying, oh yeah, I'll make a video for you for $4,000. Oh, you need to change that? That'll be another $1,000. No, that's not a good option. I think that you need to have somebody that understands how software development works, and that they've built in from the very beginning that you're going to need to tweak and change things. It could be big things like reskin or changing the name of the app, or changing the logo of the app, or other things that's on every screen but relatively straightforward. They need to be able to handle that.
Yeah, it's great advice. I mean, one of the things that we say to founders when they're going down this type of path, whether they're building a landing page or a website, or getting a video done, or even building some software, is have a go at building it yourself very quickly, just to take you through the process. Like if you want to build a video, just start to sort of sketch out a narrative and try and have a go at yourself, just so that you can see, one, the end-to-end process. You get a bit of an idea of an appreciation for what's involved. You become a better client if you work with an external agency and you've got more clue about the process and how things go. you can ask better quality questions, which means that the agency can then give you better quality answers. That tends to be something that we advise if you're going to use external support. Adam, unfortunately, we're running out of time here. I've really enjoyed this conversation. There's so many more areas of this topic that I'd love to explore, because I think from a capital efficiency point of view for startups, this is a massive opportunity for most founders that is largely untapped in the market. Something that I think investors should be advocating for a lot more, for spending investor money on building these kind of things to validate demand before you start building supply is something that we really need to standardize as best practice in the startup world. So I really want to thank you for the great chat today. It's been an absolute delight to have you on. I understand you've got a website that people can go to if they're interested in getting access to you and your services at www.appdemovideos.com. And that you have put aside a code Startup Builder. So if you use this code Startup Builder for a $500 off a mobile app demo package, or 10% off another project, and that's valid through till March 31st of 2025. Did you have anything else to say on that, Adam? You mentioned you've got some other things for developers, maybe.
Yeah,
Did you want to add to that?
All of our projects are bespoke, so there isn't just like an order on our website. So basically, get in touch, and whether you use the promo code or not, let me know, let us know that you saw me on this on this show, and work out a package for you that includes a discount. But we certainly can work with you on any of those kind of early stage product proof of concept videos. We can work with you on a later stage scale up video. We can work with you on landing page videos. We do all those different things, but we do everything really after a real conversation with each client to understand what they need. And I'm very happy to tell you that now is not the right time to make a video. Now you really need a different kind of video, even if it's less expensive than what you're talking about, because it really is what fits your life cycle at the moment, just what we can make the most money from. Get in touch, and we'll happily give anybody who saw this interview a discount.
Yeah, awesome. That's fabulous. And check out the portfolio section on your website, because you've got some great demo videos there. You get a bit of an idea of the kind of work that you do. And of course, for all the startup founders on the call, if you're looking for more clarity and you want to turn your startup journey into a clear and actionable path to success, you want to diagnose holding you back, whether you're very early in the journey or whether you've already got a product and customers in the market and trying to figure out how to get to product market fit and scale up. We'll do that diagnostic for you. We'll teach you the secrets about what actually works for your specific situation. Instead of generic startup advice, we'll give you advice that's specific to you, and we'll build you a clear and practical 6-month startup building plan specifically for your situation. That's an offer that we have that we call the Startup Builder Strategy Session. If that's something that's interesting to you, jump onto our website, follow that QR code, and you can book one of those sessions with us. Fabulous. Well, that comes to the end of another show. It's been a fabulous conversation. Thanks again, Adam. We'll be back in 2 weeks, where we're bringing you the best guests from around the internet, around the world, to support startup building, to further LeapSheep's vision of flipping the 95% startup failure rate. Until next time, that's a wrap. Thanks very much.